In this video, we're going to go over the next steps for creating tables in SQL. For step 3, we're going to identify unique columns. So these are going to be the columns where every single value in that column is different from every other value in that column. So in the customer table, customer ID is going to be a unique column because this is our primary key. Same with order ID. So to identify a primary key that is unique, you say primary key. Notice that we have shifted the comma from after the not null to after primary key. Now, if you have any columns in your tables that are not part of the primary key and are still unique, you just add the keyword unique, the same as if you added primary key. For step 4, we're going to identify the auto-incrementing columns. These are going to be the columns that are going to increase in value with every new insert on that table. And also, the only columns that can be auto-incremented are primary keys. So we're going to auto-increment customer ID and order ID. Now this only makes sense if the column is a number. If it is not a number, then we cannot auto-increment a column. So for example, net ID in a student table cannot be auto-incremented because it has some letters inside of it. So what this is going to do, if I insert a new customer, the first customer is going to have an ID of 1, the second one's going to have an ID of 2, and so on. So what I want you to do is continue with the statements you started writing in the previous learning activity and identify the unique columns and the auto-incrementing columns. So go ahead and alter the SQL statements. Don't actually execute the queries because we're still going to add to them. Pause this video and then come back to compare your answers. All right, welcome back. So now what we're going to do is identify the unique columns and the auto-incrementing column. So in the employee table, since employee ID is my primary key, I'm going to go ahead and specify that it is such. I'll go ahead and copy this and go down to course. Course ID is my primary key as well, so I'm going to specify that this is the primary key. For certificate, I have employee ID and course ID together on my primary key. Naturally, you would think that you could add them right after like this, but this is incorrect. If you have more than one column that is part of the primary key, then you need to put it on a separate line. So I'm going to undo this, put a comma, and then I'll put primary key. And then after this, I'm going to put in parentheses the 2 columns that made that primary key. So we have employee ID and we have course ID.